the more attention we pay to our clients, giving them this kind of in presence, this undivided attention, grounded attention to the client, we really become interested in them. And the more interested we are, we get more curious, right? To learn more about our clients. The curiosity shows up then in a different space. Because it's like a flow of, I'm interested in you. And of course, I'm going to ask something about this curiosity that shows I'm interested in you and your learning and whatever's going on.
And we are live. Welcome Nobantu, welcome Cindy. So great to have you both here today. And our participants filing in.
Thank you.
This evening, ladies.
Hi, everyone. Lovely to have you join us.
Hi. Okay, can you tell us where you're tuning in from in the chat? Hi, Zachary. Ooh, Zachary is from New York. Anand from Ghana. From India. Preeti from Ghana as well. Wow.
Columbus,
Ohio.
Gwina from India. Okay.
It's so good, all of you here.
Yeah, such a diverse group. Yes, this is exciting.
And I'm also very excited to be here with both of you, Cindy and Nobantu, tuning in from both of you from South Africa, correct? To each other, I think. Just before we went live, we were talking about the possibility of maybe meeting in person. How wonderful.
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
Wonderful. What a small world.
The last we saw each other was around 2 years or more than 2 years, Nobantu, at that
yes, it was in one
event.
Of the ICF educational programs. Yeah.
Yeah, in Santon, right? We had lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, it was before COVID, just before COVID.
Just before COVID, yeah. Yeah.
Well, as you can see, we have people tuning in from everywhere. Ooh, Argentina, that's new. Angela from Rio. Madhav from India.
Hi, Angela.
Great. Susanna from Italy. Lovely. So lovely to have everyone here. Today, we have master coaches, Nobantu and Cindy, talking about a really juicy topic that we all love, which is coaching presence and listening deeply, listening with.
Yeah.
What an exciting topic. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to have my mind blown. And I think all of you also should get ready for that, because I know that we're going to have just a super awesome session coming up. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Cindy and Nobantu. Please enjoy. If you have questions, drop them in the chat box. I'll be there. I'll be monitoring. If you have any questions for me, please send them over in the chat. All right.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. And if you're typing a message into the chat box, please select everyone, because when you select panelists, then only Nobantu, I, and Neha would see that. Okay? And to the coaches saying hello to us, hello right back to you, and we're loving that you joined us today. Now, today is an unusual session. I'm not your host. Both Nobantu and I are going to partner together with you and deep dive, meaning go straight into mastery onto wonderful, very exciting core competencies. I say it with a softness because both these core competencies come out from inside us, or the depth of it comes out from inside us, even though we're listening and paying attention externally. How well we do it is how well we are grounded, open, flexible, listening from inside. And with that in mind, I'm going to hand over to Nobantu to say hello to you.
Sanbonani, everyone. That is a Zulu greeting. That means I see you. I see your hopes and dreams. I see your ancestors. You know, I think, Cindy, what I'd like us to do as we start is to invite the participants to listen to their bodies right now. Listen deeply and write in the chat, what are they hearing from the bodies?
A beautiful invitation. So coaches, if you want to take a moment, quieten yourself and answer Nobantu's question. What are you hearing from your body?
Wow.
Thank you. All emotions, feelings, thoughts, whatever is showing up, all of it is respected and honored.
Wow. I always say, Cindy, most of the time we use our ears to listen and hear. And I always find the body to be the truth teller.
Yeah, right, Nobantu. I was having this conversation with some coaches the other day about exactly that, saying emotions show up in our body. So inquire about the emotions, right? Or invite the client to notice what emotions or feelings are showing up. Then I had some blank looks at saying that. And I go, okay, let me ask you this. For example, when you're watching the war in Ukraine, how many of you have tears in your eyes or feeling some anxiety? Everybody says yes. And when you're watching a movie, how many of you cry? Lots of hands went up. And I go, oh, and is that emotions not just sitting straight into your body? Yeah.
That is very true. I was laughing. I was looking at this drama that happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock. And I was not looking at the drama, but I was actually looking at the reactions of people in the audience.
Yeah, that was
And
cool,
actually,
right?
there was more to that than what I was actually looking at.
Yeah, that's
And as
lovely,
we
right? There's
talk
always
about
more.
that, and as we talk about that, Cindy, and we think about this core competency, listens actively. What would you say we can do as coaches, especially when we're listening to the client about their broader environment, their context, their environment, experiences, and values? How do we make sure that we get in there, tap into that, and go out such that our clients can hear themselves and even see what they are saying?
Absolutely. And coaches, as Nobantu and I talk about this question, I'd love for you to type your observations or what do you think, your thoughts into the chat box. How can we pay more attention to the broad picture of our clients, their culture, context, environment, whatever showing up, and to connect with who they are? That's what you're asking, right, Nobantu? Yeah.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah. So I think to begin with, we get a very good sense of that connection when they're sharing with us what is it they want from the session. Because the client won't share that, so precisely or with such clarity. They share the entire story, right? And we help them, pick up or identify what is it they want to work on today. So I think we get a good sense of the client's context, their broader picture, and a meaningfulness of what is it they want to explore within the larger goal or area that they're working on. And you can see it in a client when it lands well with them. That piece they're picking up and working on. You can sort of just sense it or see something different show up in the client when there's all this exploration on what we listen for and how we presented it back to them in a way that picks up a small piece for the session.
Wow,
Yeah.
thank you for that. What I find, helps me to see that the client has gotten in touch with the deeper core of who they are. I would find the times that, especially when they talk about things that are very close to their heart, like family, sharing how they grew up, there's this kind of lighting up of the eyes. And it's amazing how I notice such a transformation in the person. It feels like the person is immediately transported back to their youth. They become this young version and kind of joyful version of themselves. And where does that come from? From the body again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true, right? Because you see the light up, you see them light up, and it's even more magical when the coach picks up something and offers it back to them that they noticed. I noticed this in you. I noticed the excitement or your sense of light up or this whatever. As you spoke about your family and your connections to them and or perhaps, how you relate to them. And then you offer it back to them. That's when something magic shows up in the client.
That's very true. And also for me, I think what becomes important as we reflect that back, the importance of us as coaches not taking too much of the space, kind of having an in-out, so that you don't have this long summary of what you hear the client say. Otherwise, then you take over the conversation as a coach.
Yes.
And another important thing here, as we kind of observe these non-verbal cues, it's the curiosity around that. How do we have a beginner's mind and not assume, because for me that means that, not assume that it means that for the client, and also be culturally sensitive and ask what that means, so that we are really seeing our clients fully and listening to them with everything that we have, and not just the ears or the head.
Yeah. So what do you think about curiosity to all our participants? Because it's something I'm very aware of. The more attention we pay to our clients, giving them this kind of in presence, this undivided attention, grounded attention to the client, we really become interested in them. And the more interested we are, we get more curious, right? To learn more about our clients. The curiosity shows up then in a different space, because it's like a flow of, I'm interested in you. And of course, I'm going to ask something about this curiosity that shows I'm interested in you and your learning and whatever's going on with you.
And here's the thing, Cindy, as you're saying that, what this is taking me back to, it's when I was younger in a playground, when you get invited into the circle to come and play. It's like people get to be curious to include you. And it's like you feel, I belong here. And as we listen and become curious about our clients, I think we kind of share with them that you matter here. Actually, you're the most important person. And I think that's what helps us to take ourselves as coaches out of the way, because we can get in the way of clients doing their work.
Yeah. And I'm loving we're talking about this, Nobantu, because sometimes, in the foundation programs, and we say to coaches, it's the Rogerian approach, highest positive regard for the client, the client-centric. It somewhat feels a bit detached to some of them. They would keep asking questions about it. But when we talk about it from a lived experience and relate it then to a coaching skill, then it becomes a part of you expanded.
Exactly. And Cindy, in our culture here in South Africa, we practice Ubuntu. And through that, actually, it's the seeing of clients as an extension of us and us seeing ourselves in the client. So there is this connection that makes me, because I see you as part of me, I'm really interested. And then I would just zip my mouth and talk less and let you explore this story that is emerging.
Yeah. We talk a bit later or in a few minutes about what are we interested in. Yeah. We're going to pick up all those elements that belongs to listens actively and talk about what are we interested in the client, what parts of it. But for now, we hoping to have this holistic conversation, inclusive of you. So, Inge, you putting your messages onto the chat box. So we can talk about presence and listening in a more person-centered approach, meaning you, I, and everyone else. And from there, notice competencies, skill development, and how we engage and respond to the client. And this is important, Nobantu, because we all have these skills in us, right? Even when we start coaching. We have these skills in us, how we listen. And why I say it's important, because some coaches start coach training and they feel a bit overwhelmed with all the coaching skills. And many times I ask a coach, I have this conversation with them about grounding himself. That this was already in them, and I bring out, some examples or ask them questions about how they dealt with something. Then I go, you see, that skill was already in you.
I like that, Cindy, because for me, it's working with already what is in rather than adding something else. And it's like, for me, if we extend this curiosity to bring about presence in myself as a coach, I have to also become curious about what's happening inside me. At this moment, as I'm listening to my body, what am I picking up? For instance, when I start a coaching session, I get some butterflies in the tummy. And normally, before a session, I would give myself maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes to just ground myself. And I listen to these butterflies. Oh, this kind of, some kind of anxiety here. Let me just pay attention to this anxiety. How is it? I'm starting to feel like I'm sweating. And then, okay, what do I need right now? What do I need to achieve from this session for myself? How can I ground myself? And then I start doing practices that ground me. Like, for instance, I find breathing helpful, or just doing walking meditation, or just sitting in silence, or just looking at something and just becoming curious about that thing. And I would find that when I do that, I become more present, and then these butterflies start to subside. So there's a practice I think we need to be engaged in to be able to be fully with the clients. With you, what are some of the things that assist you in the presence? And also, Cindy, if you can maybe respond, I saw a question. Someone was asking, how is presence related to listening? Maybe if you can just say a little bit on that as well.
So let's start there, right, Nobantu? And then I'm going to pick up on the groundedness that you were talking about. How is presence related to listening? That's a lovely question, coaches. I'd love your thoughts. What do you think? How is presence related to listening actively? Now, the more present I'll share my thoughts with you, and I'd love to hear yours too. The more present we are, meaning we're maintaining our presence and really paying attention to all different layers showing up in the client: thoughts, feelings, body cues, energy. So we're paying attention to all those showing up, those different layers showing up in client. The better is our listening and responding to the client, right? The more we can pick up, because presence talks about being fully there for your client in a way that's grounded and flexible and open. Fully there. How do we be fully there? Or if we are fully there, then we are listening to all the different layers. We'll be picking up different layers like tone, body language, words, energy. So they feed off each other, right? It's because we are grounded, we listen well. And we listen well when we are grounded. Now, I'd love your thoughts coming in. So I'm going to switch now to the groundedness piece. And, please share, what do you do to remain grounded before a session? What are your rituals? It's not like we can be grounded 100% of the time. Sometimes it's not possible. But maintains presence, maintaining presence, meaning noticing when you're not grounded and how do you get back in, is also equally important. So I'll share what I do normally before a session. So Nobantu, I gotta say this, I think you know this about me. I'd rather be 30 seconds late or a minute late than go online, open my camera when I'm feeling a bit of anxiety or extra thoughts in my head. I'd rather be 30 seconds late. I'm African and late is okay. A bit of late is okay. Yep. But I won't just open my camera in a state of some anxiety. I won't do that because I know my listening will not be good. And I know that I'll be telling myself, doing a whole lot of self-talk, ground yourself. And then, then I'm not fully with the client because I'm also trying to manage myself. So in the background, I sit at my laptop, ground myself for a few minutes, and then switch on my camera. And I'm mindful that sometimes I am a minute late or so, and that's okay too. Or I'll send a message, give me a minute and I'll be there. The other thing I do sometimes when I'm feeling anxious is some self-talk. I tell myself, oh, come on, Cindy, you've done this repeatedly. Now, what are you nervous about? And then I look for an answer. Normally, I give myself an answer too. And sometimes I tell myself, well, it's okay then. That kind of nerves is a good edge. Let's run with that piece. But if it's a kind of uneasy nerves, then I thought, okay, I'll take a bit longer then to ground myself. Normally, it's just breathing, making a cup of tea, yeah. So, what are we getting from others? Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I never do back-to-back meetings. I'm not that kind of person. I need time. Ah, nice. Several deep breaths. Angela says, of course, I listen to chants and do breathing. Nice. It's lovely when collectively we had our resources or share with each other. We can pick up from each other and, have like a list of collective resources we could use.
And also, I think, Cindy, what also is important, which I think would be important for the coaches to reflect on, how do they know when they are present?
That's lovely, right?
What indicates to them that they are present? So if you could please share that in the chat. Okay, you've done the preparation to get yourself to be present, to be centered, to be grounded. What then lets you know that, oh yes, I'm here, I'm present?
How do you know you're present? That's a good question. For me, the noise in my head stops, like there's like an emptiness there. And all coaching begins to happen or from below. Yeah. And sometimes I get a bit worried because I think, am I missing something, some thinking or strategy here? But I quickly ground myself into intuitiveness and I know I'll pick it up. So most of the time I'm present when I'm kind of below, yeah? A bit more grounded. And you know what I also do, Nobantu? I find myself when the client is talking and I'm thinking about something like a question to ask the client, then I stop it with just shutting off for a second or two, the silence. I go into silence to drop that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I find that helps me just drop the question about that I have for the client. That's now already passed. The client is busy, gone with something else, and I'm holding on to that question. And sometimes coaches talk about, I get a bit distracted by asking myself, what's the next question I ask my client?
Exactly. Because then I think that's when we are in a performance mode. We're not tuning in deeply with the client.
Yeah, and the brain is a strange thing, right? You ask the brain, what's the next question? 10 questions will pop into the head. And now you have to play this, which question do I choose?
Exactly. Or when you do that, I find that it's like you're playing a tennis match. You serve a ball to the client responds, and then another, and you miss out on the critical
Yes.
stuff. So
Yes.
maybe one thing I would like to give as a way of really helping the body to be grounded. Our somatic kind of reactions or somatic demonstration give messages to the brain. Actually, our thinking comes from the body because it's the body that would give a message to the brain. For instance, a body that is tired, that's not relaxed, it's like the shoulders are like this. Just a simple act of relaxing the shoulders. Then the mind starts to say, there is no danger here, there is no threat. Just softening your facial muscles and even the eyes, softening the eyes and opening your mouth slightly, letting your jaw drop. It does wonders. It's an instant relaxation and grounding.
That's lovely tips.
Hmm. So now, do we believe that to be heady does not help us to listen actively and deeply?
What did
Thinking,
Susanna
thinking,
say?
thinking.
Oh, somebody said something interesting, so I'm just going to pick that up, Nobantu. Where is it now? This chat is going quite quick.
I
Susanna said,
know. It's going faster.
Susanna said, I am present when my ego is silent and I can listen to and feel the client. Yeah. Mind and body is one system.
Mhm. When we relax our body, we relax our mind. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny, I don't know whether this is as we get older thing. I think it's a bias, but I'm going to hold the bias for now. It's as we get older, I've noticed the body tells the mind what to do, what to think, what to do, what's going on. It kind of leads the space of the next. Yeah? It's like if you're tired, you're paying attention to that, right? And you need to chill out, to relax, to do something differently. And when you're not well. You're not well. I mean, when you're younger and you're not feeling well, you'll go, oh, what difference it makes. I'll just go to work today.
Exactly.
And I'll manage. Yeah. Then as you get older, no, the body says no. Think today you'll relax at home.
Or you just decide, let me take a walk around nature. Because also for me, I realize that really opens me up to my inner wisdom and my inner knowing. And when now I'm in the inner knowing, I find that the questions I ask as I listen stop being cognitive, but comes from the instinctual space.
Yeah.
So it connects us deeper to the soul and the essence.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, coaches, we've been having this deep dive conversation, the who of the coach and how that connects to the who of the client, or my hands, equality in the relationship between both. The soul in me sees the soul in you. The art in me sees the heart in you. As Nobantu said, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, and everything about you. Now, I said we'll pick up another piece, and let's do that now. And that is on what are we really interested in the client? Listens actively. So what are we paying attention to in the client? Come, what do you think? I invite your responses. What are we paying attention to in the client when we listen actively?
There's a response, the whole person.
Oh, yeah.
Paying attention to the shifts.
Yes, definitely. Oh, yes.
Emotions, oh
Emotion.
yes.
Energy.
The essence.
Yeah.
Insights.
Yeah. The unspoken sometimes. Yeah. What the client is not saying. Yeah, absolutely. What is not said. Words. Yep. The marker talks or the competency talks about inquiring and exploring the words of the client or language the client uses. And you would have noticed the marker talks about exploring energy shifts, noticing and exploring. And exploration is more than one question, right? It's more. Inquiry could be one question, but exploration is more.
And maybe, Cindy, just here, because what I find most of the time, especially when we are new to coaching, we ask a question and we don't take that further and explore that deeper.
Yes.
And for me, that exploration, it's adding to the client's understanding of what they are saying, because they hear themselves more as you asking them these questions to explore more. And as they do that, actually, I find that they even see what they say. And then that's when you find that rich figures emerge for clients and metaphors emerge for our clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? And so many times, as an example, I would ask a coach, in mentoring, is it what were you trying to figure out when you asked the client that? And they'll give you a beautiful explanation. I noticed the client did that, so I explore that with the client or ask that question. And then I go, well, the client gave you an answer and you didn't do anything with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you asked a beautiful question. You have a lovely explanation as to why you asked the client that. The client went deeper and answered it. Now you got to pick up and follow on that.
Exactly. And which for me, Cindy, now links and integrates so well with evokes awareness.
Yes.
Where now we get to recognize, oh, this is an insight. How then is this insight going to be taken further?
Absolutely. The
The
movement of
resolution
current
of
to
this
more.
challenge. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all
Current to
about
then
this
beyond.
listening actively and listening deeply with your all as a coach to the client.
Yeah. Yeah. Curiosity to learn more about our clients. And of course, using ourselves, right? Our own intuitiveness, smartness as a coach coming out.
Wow. I'm just listening to the silence now, Cindy, and I always get struck to how much when I listen to the silence, I start to hear messages. And for me, this also brings me to the importance of us as coaches to allow for silence in the coaching.
Yeah.
Because that's when our clients start to hear themselves. What's waiting to emerge in the service of what they are trying to solve for themselves.
Yeah. And also Nobantu, we also know this, right? Even if there's no silence, like the client is talking, 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 we can invite a moment of silence. Invite the client into a moment of pause, reflection, or silence to notice if there's anything different or what's happening in that silence.
Because sometimes I find the clients get lost in the story.
Yeah.
And this invitation and just allowing for silence helps to see what is the story. Is this story taking me too much to the back, to the history of what happened? How can I stay in the present with what is current and immediate such that I'm able to move forward?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The client discovers something there, right? And you'll hear from them, if you offer or invite the moment and you ask them what, sometimes they would be saying things like, I'm so glad I'm speaking about this today because I'm actually feeling lighter or something like that. And of course, there's huge moments there of exploring, right? You want to know quite gently, what are you feeling lighter about? And just keep on flowing in that conversation with what client is sharing, and are you taking it to the next step? Like when client shares what they lighter about, and then you can go what opportunities are presenting itself now that you have this lightness, and then how do you feel about taking this and moving on to any kind of learnings or insights? You see, it's small moments in coaching. It doesn't always have to be a jump on the table and celebrate moment.
Yes. Wow, I'm enjoying this conversation, and it's amazing. It's landing in my body, and as you were saying, I'm also feeling more relaxed, and there is something in my tummy that is saying, "Wow, something big is emerging here." And I'm curious. Right now, I'm seeing the time is moving so fast. I'm curious to know if the participants have got any specific questions on how maybe they can practice this. Because with Cindy, we didn't want to just come in and share the core competencies. You can read those.
No,
For
you
me,
can
this
read it.
conversational style. So now I think it would be very important to leave it to you if you have any questions of further exploration as we're talking about explorations.
Yeah. And coaches, when like, that example I was giving, what are you feeling lighter about? there's always associated thoughts with a new feeling. Like you're going into layers here, right? When the client is doing a lot of talking around thinking, then you gently asking about emotions, feelings, energy, or something there. The same word when there's a lot of feeling showing up, you inquire about the associated thinking. And associated thinking will always trigger off something new in the energy. So, it's a follow-on conversation. So, coaches, we have one question in the Q&A box. Let me see what that is.
There's a question there. What is a gentle question to invite a client to silence who is stuck in their moment?
Well, at the top of my head, and Nobantu, perhaps you have some. The top of my head, I would, check with client. We've been talking about X, Y, and Z, whatever the context is, for about 20 minutes now. And I'm hearing the details around what you're saying. It's quite important that you share it. May I invite you into a moment of silence, or I would say pause, whatever's within that context, and notice if there's anything else showing up that's important for you. Yeah? Like you get a sense as a client is sharing, there's something here very important to this client. They keep telling the story. Then you invite them into what else? The moment of silence to reveal if there's anything else important for them showing up in that moment of silence.
Yes, I like that. And also what I would normally do, I would use myself, which is the use of self, where I would say, maybe a client is saying something, I would say maybe, oh, that landed with me. I would like to reflect more on that and be silent. And as I use myself, they find this moment to reflect as well. Or another question that I find helps to bring a reflective moment for the client is, if they are stuck, as someone had asked, I would ask them, if you were your own coach, what question would you ask yourself right now? And ask that question internally and see what emerges for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's quite powerful when we
Yes, it is.
because we naturally have questions to ourselves, right? To invite that out is quite powerful. And Nobantu, I like what you said earlier on, about long summaries. Because in moments of depth, like when a client is going deeper and figuring things out for themselves, long summaries have a tendency to interrupt the client.
Exactly.
Like their thoughts or whatever's going on inside gets interrupted. Yeah.
And that goes the same way with long questions. If you can try to ask 3 words questions, in, out. And then it's like, there's that illumination in the client's world.
Absolutely. It's like all these light bulbs, these potentials are inside the client, right? We all know that. All these light bulbs, some shining louder or shining brighter than others. And then when we ask like something more, energy, emotions, a thought, something more that's going beyond, one of that light bulbs will get this illuminated feeling that Nobantu spoke about. Yep.
Exactly.
And begin to shine up. And you know that moment, right? I'm sure many of you have experienced that. Then you start asking some questions around that moment because you can see the energy has shifted. You can feel it.
Listening.
George, Neha knows how to copy the chat. She could put it into the YouTube space. Am I right in what I'm saying now? Neha, can participants copy the chat?
Yes, I've just put it in the chat box.
Okay.
I will be putting up the chat on the website in the blog post on Friday, as well as on the YouTube channel where the recording is available.
Okay, now somebody on the Q&A box asked, how can a coach invite a client to a moment of silence or reflection? Well, I think we've answered that one. We've spoken about that, Nobantu.
Yes, we did, yeah.
So coaches, I want to say to you, if you're thinking about coach training, for those of you prospective coaches, Nobantu has got a foundation course coming up in the 19th of April. And it's on a Sunday. So if you want to, if you're thinking about it, and of course want more experiences with Nobantu, that may be the course for you.
That's on the 19th of May, Cindy.
Oh, sorry. That's my error. The course starts on the 16th of May. Is that right? 16th of May.
My one is 19th of May.
May 16th.
May 16th. Okay.
Okay, Nobantu, we don't have to be good with numbers.
All right, yes. Actually, I find that I listen more when I don't know. That kind of beginner's mind makes me to be curious. Yes.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, I give the, Mirren or Neha or Smita Kwarata. When is my course?
Yes, it's actually 19th will be Cindy's course on the 19th.
Yes.
Cindy's course coming up. So if you are an ACC or if you've done your foundation, you can apply for Cindy's course. It will be a specialized course for executive coaching. It will specialize in executive coaching. So if you already have your ACC or your foundation certificate, you can go for that course. Or if you want to do your foundation, then you can join the foundation course with Nobantu on the 16th of May.
Now we know why you're good at what you do. Thank you.
If it's okay, I would love to come back to the topic because I have a question which I'm not quite sure how to frame my question either. So I'm just giving it my best shot. Hopefully, I will transmit what I'm trying to say through more than just the words. What is it that is driving this curiosity in a coach or in you specifically when you coach a client? What is the central principle or emotion or guiding, guiding principle that is like, okay, I'm curious about this person. What are you curious about? To what end are you curious? And is it because you're trying to show them affection? Is it because you're trying to hold a space for them? But what is that space for? And like, what is the exploration?
You're curious to learn more about your client. You will see in the current marker system, not the updated one, it's beautifully mentioned there. The coach is curious with an intent to learn more about the client. So what's his curiosity about? The intent to learn more about my client. I think the current marker system, the updated markers take out the word intent, but curiosity to learn more is still there.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, right? It means if you noticed an energy shift, a lot of coaches would do this. I mean, I'm speaking from a mentoring experience. I would say, they would beautifully notice I've noticed there's this big smile on your face and your energy has shifted. I want to acknowledge that in you. And you just kill the exploration because there's no intent to learn more. You put an acknowledgement on it.
Yes.
Now, there's no point to that. But if you did, I've noticed this big smile on your face. I've noticed your energy has shifted. What's shifting for you? Now you have the curiosity to learn more about what's shifted in the client. So, exactly what you were saying, Neha. It's coaches, be mindful about where you do the acknowledgement and how you're doing it. Like you're not acknowledging to kill or dampen the curiosity. You're acknowledging to learn more about your client, something more. And that marker on, I think 8.8, the second last one, what are we celebrating in the client? What are we celebrating? Look at the words after the word celebrate, and you would notice what we are celebrating. Not celebrating, wow, fantastic, great. We are celebrating the learning and progress of the client. Look at that word after celebrate, and you would know, or the words after celebrate. Now, even if you're the coach who goes, wow, that's brilliant, that's okay. As long as you check with the client how they felt about it.
Yes.
Like you don't make it a one-way thing. Sorry, Nobantu, I sense you want to say something there.
No, I like that, Cindy. And what I've found coaches tend to do is to give an empty appreciation or celebration of what the client without actually kind of qualifying that. What is it that has shifted that you're appreciating or acknowledging in the client? Not just to be going on and appreciating everything, but the specificity. And as that happens, I think that also helps the client to move now into action and implement whatever.
Absolutely, because those word belongs to trust, right? Acknowledge, I mean, the competency around trust. It belongs to far more than that too. But it falls under trust, appreciation, acknowledging. And if you kind of just do exactly what you're saying, the empty appreciation, then for me, my level of trust gets a bit dampened too.
Yep.
If I'm the receiver of that, and it's not necessary every 10 minutes to appreciate something or after every 5 minutes, you're appreciating the client. If I was a client, I would think to myself, am I that needy? Am I coming across so needy to you that you want to acknowledge me and appreciate me? Like, really?
Yeah.
So coaches, we at the end, right, Neha?
Yes, we're just about at the end of the session. I would love some closing thoughts from you, Cindy and Nobantu. But first, I just want to check with our lovely participants if there's anything they would like to ask. And George has asked a question, related practical question for internal coaches. Is the starting discussion generally around the work situation, or is it more effective to take an open approach?
I didn't quite get that,
Yeah,
Neha.
George, would you like to just reframe your question a little bit and ask again? I'd be happy to answer that for you.
Georgia, you're asking when you start the conversation around the agreement, establishing the agreement, whether it should be more open-ended or more work-related, especially with a corporate client. Depending on the context of where you are in the coaching process, meaning you could have had an agreement with a client to pick up actions today or for the next session. That could be your start point because it's an agreement. And if it's open, you can offer the client, are we going to pick up your actions and discuss that? Or is there something else burning that you would like to pick up today first? You can offer it to the client because you are in agreement with the client. And George, if I'm off track, please ask your question again. Coaches, it's wonderful to hear from you as to what value you're taking away. Please, please, please put down more of what you'd like us to discuss or the value you're taking away, so that we get a sense of your needs also and can design some webinars around that. Nobantu, closing thoughts from you today.
We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. If we can use those in that proportion, we'll be great coaches.
Wonderful. From me, it was lovely being with you. Join us again next week for our next webinar. And Neha, I think you want to say something, so I'm just going to hand over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Cindy. Yes, thank you everyone for participating. That was really great. And thank you, Cindy and Nobantu. Wow. Didn't I promise all of you would have your minds blown during the session? We all experienced that. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions about the upcoming courses, especially Cindy's and Nobantu's courses that we just talked about, please send us an email at support@coachire.com, contact@coachire.com. You can email Magda as well, magda@coachire.com. Just bombard her with all the questions. She's happy to take them. And yeah, I really appreciate all of you. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for bringing your wonderful energy to this space. And have a great night, morning, day, wherever you are. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.